Hi everyone, thank you so much for signing up for the webinar masterclass tonight. It's great to have you here. I'm looking forward to sharing the A to Z of how to lead a Salesforce project and giving you an insight view as to all the things that you can think about when you're running a project and having that checklist there for you. We've had quite a few people sign up tonight. There's over 90 people signed up, so we'll just give them a few more minutes to register. I know it's always an interesting time for different people in different time zones, so we'll just give them a few more minutes. It'd be great if you want to share where you are in the world in the chat. We always get quite an international audience. It's always lovely to see where you're all from. So please do say hi in the chat and where you are. And we can start by just introducing ourselves from that point of view. And then we'll get started in a couple of minutes. Great to see some familiar names here as well. So welcome to some of our Supermum alumni, as well as some new guests that we haven't met before. Lovely to have you in the mix. Be great to know if any of you have actually read the book as well, How to Become a Super Salesforce Consultant. Great, so we've got Denver, London, Chicago. I love seeing the spread. Charlotte, Shavington, UK. Where's that, Alison? Where's Shavington?
Hate to say, but it's near Crewe.
And I'm near Crewe. Oh, that's okay. Well, I'm from Macclesfield originally, so not
So
too...
it's in between Crewe and Nantwich, so more Nantwich.
Northwest.
Oh, you're really not far from me, Alison. I live in Chester. Literally down the road.
Neighbours, yeah.
Yeah. I used to go and get my school shoes from Nantwich when I was a little girl.
Oh, Northwest Crewe in the world. We've got people literally all over. It's funny when we look at where all our trainees have come from, and literally on some cases there's people on the same street. They don't always, some have known each other and some haven't. So it's interesting just seeing where everybody is. Yvonne, you're in Winchester. Alison, you're on B. Awesome. Work in progress. Fantastic. Well, great to have you all here. Thank you for those. Welcome to those that are just joining. We're just getting everybody to introduce themselves in the chat. For those of you that are just joining, you might not see the chat because I don't think it's always presented to you if you're just joining now. But we've got people from all over the world joining tonight. We had 90 people sign up. So we're just giving it a few more minutes for people to join. There's a question here. We've got an AI assistant. An AI assistant join. That's absolutely fine if you want to take notes. Not a problem at all. Wow, Jean, 2 feet of snow over the weekend. That's crazy. What's going on with the weather? It's all over the place, isn't it, at the moment? It's really cold and it's really hot. I've got a wedding this week, so my cousin's getting married, so we're hoping that it will stay dry for the wedding. It's really important. I don't want it to rain on that day. Fabulous. Okay, right, we'll get started because I appreciate some of you are really prompt. And it's nearly 5 past now, so wedding and wellies yet, not exactly a good combo. So we'll get started. So thank you so much for joining. Let me just move all these chats out of the way, and my lovely assistant Jennifer will be admitting people in. So as you can see, this session, the masterclass, I originally did at Dreamforce, which is very exciting. So I did a pre-launch of my book, Become a Super Salesforce Consultant, which I don't have a copy here actually because I'm away at the moment. And the book is about how to lead a Salesforce project with an A to Z guide. So we are excited. Jen's got the book there. We're very excited to be bringing this to you as a live masterclass and just really explain what the A to Z is, because I think, you know, the premise of it really is to provide a little bit of a benchmark for you to help you think, well, actually, have I covered everything off on a project I'm working on? And I've been really I suppose it's really nice to see the value that the book is giving to people and that it's valued by people who've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for quite a while, for them to have a little bit of a refresher as well. And I feel very privileged to have had amazing feedback from everybody at any level of their Salesforce career about the session that I'm going to talk you through and how valuable it was just to think about it in this way. And I think, you know, I'm a big one for checklists because we have so many things to think about, and particularly when we're diving into other organizations and thinking about their processes, that we've got to have really a strategy and checklist for our process of how we manage a project to keep that in order, because there's so many things to think about and otherwise it feels a little bit scrambled. So through my years of consulting, I'm sharing with you kind of my learning, my journey. Just for those of you that don't know my background, and why I share the knowledge on this, and I teach people every day on these skills, is I became a solo freelance Salesforce consultant back in 2012. Started a journey working independently for a couple of years, and then grew a Salesforce consultancy around me because I had more work than I could manage myself, and ended up growing the organization to 20 staff. And during that time, we worked on 700 projects with 350 clients. And as you can appreciate, growing a consultancy, bringing new team members on, working on projects, you learn lots of things. So you find out, well, why did that go wrong? What did we do? What do we need to do differently? And you're constantly evolving and having a strategy to mitigate risk wherever possible. So a lot of this material has been designed with a way of mitigating risk wherever you can on your project, but also taking from best practice training and development. So I spent over £11,000 on my training as a Salesforce professional. That was on training courses with Salesforce, but it was also on training on business analysis, agile project management, and change management. And many of those disciplines, I don't feel you can run Salesforce projects without really understanding those disciplines in depth. So when we go through the A to Z today, a lot of the elements of the A to Z actually are principles of business analysis, agile project management, and change management. It's not about the technical, how do I build a system? It's about how do you lead a Salesforce project? And I can honestly say, hand on heart, if I had not invested that money, I wouldn't have been able to run Salesforce projects. And the only reason I invested is because I was running projects and thinking, well, actually, how do I deal with this situation? I don't have the professional toolkit to do it. But my justification for spending that money was I was earning £450 day rates. So the reality was that investment equated to 20 days of work. So why wouldn't I spend that and invest in my learning and development to be better on projects? So there's a good ROI from any training you do. But what I did from my experience and from the training that I did early on in my career was develop this methodology and develop this training. And we've been delivering a consultancy skills course now for over 4 years with Supermums, where we charge just over £1,000 for the course, but it's a lot of material that I learned where I spent 11 grand. So what I wanted to do was put together a course that really consolidates and is very tailored to Salesforce, because what I learned was very generic to wider CRM projects, not even just CRM, but it was very theoretical and methodical in a wider agenda. And what I did was compile all of that, apply it, and then design this consultancy skills course, which is very tailored to Salesforce projects with business analysis questions that are tailored to Salesforce projects. So the A to Z that I'm going through, and the book and the course that we run, draws on all of this best practice of how you deliver in real life, as well as all the best practice in teaching and training. But it also gives you the skills to hit the ground running, and the tools and the templates and the techniques to hit the ground running on actual projects. So when you walk into a workshop, you know what you're asking, you know how to navigate it, and everything that I'm going to cover today. So we are doing a special on the Consultancy Skills course. If you sign up within the next 24 hours, we've got a 10% discount. The code for it is AZ10 Masterclass. We've just had our early bird offer, hence why we just did a special tonight. So if you do fancy learning more from me after you've been on the masterclass tonight, then I love teaching this course. It's a 12-week course where we go in deeper in all of these areas that I'm going to cover, and I teach and equip you to run Salesforce projects, minding the gap really. And that's where I'm going to start the story tonight. Why are these things important? Where are the expectations? If anything, if you go away, if you haven't read the book, or you haven't got the book, please do get a copy of the book. I've written it for you guys. I've written it there to help you on your projects and to impart the knowledge, because that's what I love to do. I love training and educating and sharing knowledge, which we do through our weekly blogs every week and through the book and through the training. So grab yourself a copy if you haven't got a copy. And I was delighted to have the endorsement from Zara for the book. It was fantastic to have her support, because it's so important that we have consultants and customers that get the most out of Salesforce and they feel equipped to go through that digital transformation project. So we have endorsement for the book from the most senior level in the UK on our Salesforce project, but equally, obviously, this, that sort of recognition really of the strategy is worldwide. So I invite you to join me on the journey tonight to become a super Salesforce consultant. We should be going for about 45 minutes. It depends how enthusiastic I get about my topics. I can deliver this within 20 minutes, which is what I had to do at Dreamforce. I can't promise I'm going to stick to 20 minutes tonight, because it's our session and we've got a little bit longer. So we should be done by 9 o'clock at the latest. So I'm going to kick off by one of my favourite comments, and actually somebody fed back on this statement when they were giving me feedback on the book, is as consultants, we strive to make people happy. And that would be my opening line whenever I'm going into a design workshop and doing a business analysis session with stakeholders. I would say to them, look, I'm here to make you happier. I want to help you in your job, help make it more efficient. I want to help you improve your performance. I want to take all that administration off your desk. I want to help you sleep better at night. And you might think, well, actually, how do you do that? The reality was the feedback that I got from people was exactly that. Through having dashboards where they could see all the data, they no longer had to work a weekend crunching numbers. Another chap had said to me, these automations are amazing because I no longer have to do all of this boring administration. I can get home on time to see my kids. And then you've got the managers that can go away on holiday and they're not worrying about what's happening in the organization because they can just look at Salesforce and see what's happening. Like, you are changing people's lives for the better when you go in and be a Salesforce consultant. And that's what success looks like. It's that living, beating heart of like, how do you make somebody happier? Yes, there's different levels of this, but that was the level that makes me happy. And I guess I'm very socially motivated. Like, I like making a difference to people. That's what makes me tick. But equally, as a Salesforce consultant, we also go in and we want to help that organization be more efficient, to save money, to make them more profitable. And that's at an organizational level. And that's where the senior executive sponsor wants to hear and see, because that's their role and responsibility. They want to see an organization that is financially more buoyant through automation, through, say, efficiencies that they can get, and through having tools that allow them to close deals quicker or serve customers better. You've got a trailblazer story that is about how have we transformed this organization to be a better organization financially and for its customers and for its employees. But equally, you've got the trailblazer stories that sit behind that, which is about how do you make a day in the life of an employee better for them. Because in some essences, those stories of the individuals are the most important, because that's what's going to get their buy-in to them using the system. And this is where change management comes in, and I'll be sharing change management, knowing how to engage, enthuse, and empower people, and find out what is valuable to them and how Salesforce is going to help them in their role, is where you maximize user adoption. So we set really high expectations when we go in, but these are the stories that we want to see and feel. We don't want to walk away and say, oh, we did some workflows or we did some dashboards. You want to say how you changed lives. You want to say how you changed and improved the organization's outcomes. That's where you want to be pitching yourself as a Salesforce consultant, and just feeling that amazing sense of satisfaction about the difference that you've made to people, because that's what I have always really loved about doing the Salesforce consultancy work. The reality is, though, is that we can make a lot of rookie mistakes if we haven't got a good methodology or process to delivering on these projects. And if you don't have all this strategy in place, particularly say this A to Z I'm going to go through, this is where things can go wrong. It's where you won't achieve those trailblazer outcomes for the individuals or the organization if any of these components are missed. And actually, having gone through this myself, you know, you're never going to get it perfect, but if I can help you mind the gap by giving you the answers and the secrets to success, then this is my job tonight. Because if you make these mistakes, it will be where a project will slightly go wrong. And during my time of running a consultancy and having a team delivering, when I look back on where projects didn't quite go smoothly, there was approximately 20 common reasons why. You could put your finger on it. And those reasons could have been avoided had the formula, the strategy been followed. Now, in some cases, we might not have known that bit of the strategy was needed, or it didn't get delivered in the way that it should, which is why you always need a checklist and that methodical process to go, have I done everything? And when I presented this masterclass at a user group, you know, those guys that had been doing senior Salesforce work for years said this is just a really useful checklist, you know, just to go off to say, have I got everything sorted? You know, have I got everything in place? And so things that we can forget, you know, as I say, there was over 20 project risks, which are listed in my book, but things might be not having a business case to generate buy-in from people, not onboarding the customers properly, not appraising and mitigating the risks in the first place. So again, you want to go through all the risks and have that risk mitigation strategy with your client or team that you're working with. Have you briefed the client ahead of a design workshop? Have you asked the right questions in the design workshop? Have you made time for non-functional requirements? Is everything documented properly in the right way? Have you engaged people in the project? Have you trained people in what I call the gold standard methodology? And I'll be talking a bit about that as well. And have you set up a centre of excellence? These are just some of the things that you need to make sure you've got. So I'm going to, as I say, answer maybe any questions you've got as we go through the session tonight. So let's look at how we mind the gap on this A to Z process. So I'm going to kick off with the A to Z. And we kick off with the section really is around the hat trick skills of a consultant. You might hear common feedback from your customer or the team that you're working with, where they might make exclamations around, what do you mean I can't have all of the requirements? Because all of a sudden their shopping list of things has gone from 100, you know, from 70, and they don't have enough budget, and all of a sudden they're wanting all those requirements. So how do you manage that? How do you manage to keep scope creep under control? How do you keep things in time and budget? We're going to be talking about how to do that. You might get a feedback, if I spend this amount of dollars on the CRM, what benefits will I actually see? People want those hard known facts about what value they're going to get out of the system and what that's going to look like. And you might get people in the room that really don't want to stop using their spreadsheet. Like they're really feeling like grief from this situation. They don't want to be there. They might be anxious, they might be angry. You know, they want to stick with their current way of working. These are all things that I've experienced on projects. And these things led me to be trained up in these areas. So with Agile, A stands for Agile Project Management, which is a great place to kick off. Now, with Agile Project Management, if you are leading a Salesforce project, you need to train up in DSDM methodology. It's a methodology we teach on a project. It's different to Scrum. DSDM allows you to manage projects in time and in budget, and allows you to look at the strategic requirements of the business and to align your technical requirements with those strategic priorities. You use something called Moscow prioritization. It means that you can keep everything in control. With Scrum methodology, it sits a lower level below that, and that is about delivering in a team effort on the technical requirements that have been decided. So if you are leading a Salesforce project, you need to understand the DSDM methodology and to be able to train your customers or your team on Agile project management and deliver a training session for them and make sure that everybody is aligned to that methodology. So when they have that shopping list of 100 requirements, you can then work with them to prioritize it in a way that allows things to be chopped off that list that they're no longer going to have. And you use Moscow prioritization for that. And they're all on board with it, which means that confidently and they understand that they will not get all the requirements because they are aligning with a globally renowned methodology. So it's about teaching them the methodology, it's about getting their buy-in to the methodology, it's about holding them to account on that methodology. So expectations are managed all round and you can deliver the project within time and budget. It's absolutely essential. I think I've never seen any project I've ever worked on ever fit into a budget that's available, because there's always a wish list and you get them excited about things and the wish list just gets longer. So agile project management is the first thing. Business analysis is the second thing. And these two things for me I just don't see how you can operate one without the other. Quite frankly, change management too. With business analysis, it's all about gathering requirements, and that will be developing the business case and the requirements at a business level about what they're needing the technical solution to deliver for them in terms of return on investment. But it's also then documenting all of the functional and non-functional requirements and documenting that in various ways. I talk about 10 different ways to document requirements, 10 different documents you would produce. Now, that might not be like a document in a Word document. It might be that you're documenting them within tools and systems in a way that you're mapping it all. But it's absolutely essential that everything is documented in a professional way, or else there's no audit trail, there's no understanding between anybody in any history about what's been done, why and when, which causes huge amounts of problems at every single level. So with business analysis, yes, it's about asking questions. It's about asking the right questions. It's about asking all the questions. And what I did over my period of time as a consultant was to document all of those questions that we should be asking on a sales cloud implementation, a service cloud implementation, a non-profit implementation. And that's what I now teach people on our Consultancy Skills course, is what all of those raft of questions are. So you've got business analysis scripts. So you're not making it up in your head and just ad-libbing in the workshop. You want to have a script for every single product that you do. So I ended up with business analysis scripts for all sorts of things, from project management to event management to payment integrations to everything. Because when I was running a consultancy, I needed to make sure that I was setting up my consultants for success and that they had the similar questions that they'd roll out on projects, or else everybody's taking a different approach. There's no method, there's no formula. You can't possibly remember all those questions. And so with business analysis, you want to come across in a very professional way. You want to make sure you've got all your questions, everything's documented properly that you get from the workshops, from process maps to your requirements log, to your change log, to your technical workbook, to your object entity diagram, your technical audit. Everything is documented. You've got your business case. They're just some of the 10 documents. And when you've got all of those things, that's when then you need to use agile project management to prioritize things. Because otherwise, say you end up with quite often too much stuff, and you've got to iterate and decide what you're working on first using agile project management. So, okay, we've got all of this work to do that's going to take 10 weeks. What are we going to work on first? What is the most important thing? And that's where agile project management comes in. So I think it's technically impossible to operate in isolation, those two things, because I wouldn't know how you would prioritize things or manage things within time and budget. So those things go hand in hand. And then change management overlays all of it. Again, I think it's impossible to do these tasks. So with change management, it's about understanding the culture of the organization, the different stakeholders in that organization, and how to empower them and engage them throughout the process. Now, if I'm going into an organization that is a machine-led culture organization, I would tackle and undertake business analysis in a very different way to an organization that was flux and transformation culture, because it's a different methodology, it's a different audience, it's a different environment, and you would undertake a different business analysis set of elicitation techniques in the way that you communicate, in the way you present, in the way that you manage, because a machine type organization is very top down. It's about dealing with the senior stakeholders, and then you want to engage people below you, but you're not consulting with the stakeholders necessarily at the front line. but you are having to engage them in a way that they are going to adopt what the senior level stakeholders have said. You need to be very smart about how you do that, and within change management, and certainly within the book, we indicate some of the techniques that you've got there, but equally in our course, we go to a much deeper level to really understand, well, actually, in a machine-led environment, how do I engage everybody in the right way when it's been almost, say in a frank way, but forced upon them? You don't want it to seem like it's been forced upon them, but the reality is it isn't a machine-led environment. So how do you do that? How do you engage people and excite them when they don't necessarily, always want it? So I think change management is fascinating. It's my favorite topic. But the way that you present business analysis, the way that you do agile project management is very aligned to the change management methodologies and engaging people throughout it. So I really love the fact that ABC is the core thread of everything that I'm going to cover, but it kicks us off really nicely for the A to Z. And then D for DevOps is moving on. DevOps is a key fundamental pillar really now of any organization. Gearset have a wonderful DevOps Launchpad platform where you can learn all about DevOps for free. So they sponsored this chapter. I say they have an amazing free resource where you can learn DevOps for free. So go ahead and have a look at that and check it out, and you can get your first DevOps certification. But understanding how to manage changes in a coordinated way, it might not be that you're doing it, but you might need to manage the DevOps process, is really important, I think, now as well. So we're going to move on to the next section, which is about forming a team. And quite often at any point in a project, I would say there is a moment where there will be that feeling that things are a little bit crazy and unclear about who's doing what. Now, we want to avoid that at all costs, and we want to set up a team for success. So here are my sort of key recommendations to create the right culture, structure, and guidance for a performing team. E is evaluating the opportunity. Now, putting this frankly, it's deciding whether you want the opportunity or not, because you might be better walking out the door even before you get started and not being part of the team. So I put together a list of 27 questions you would ask at interview, whether this is going for a job or a pitch as an independent consultant, to evaluate whether the opportunity is one that you want to be part of, because you are assessing the risks at this point. You're assessing the buy-in, the budget, the resources. You are looking at whether it's something that you want to do and get involved with, because I went for a lot of interviews for projects. I would be pitching for work at least 2 or 3 times a week. We'd win about 50% of our projects as a consultancy, sometimes maybe less than that. But there's certainly interviews that I went into that made me come out going, what, do I really want this one? So evaluating the opportunity is really, really important. So there's 27 questions I came up with that you could ask. I wouldn't just go through that list totally. Obviously, it depends on the situation you're in and pick and choosing the questions from that list to ask. But definitely want to evaluate the opportunity. Now, once you've decided you want to go ahead, you want to make sure that the organization you're working with has a Salesforce administration function in place, and making sure that they have a strategy for the 4 roles of an awesome admin, that you are ensuring they have a Salesforce admin team, that they are trained, that they've got the right resources in place. And we have a whole methodology for this, which looks at what tasks they should be doing on a quarterly basis, a monthly basis, and a weekly basis. And I think even maybe a daily basis, that it makes sure that you are operating in a proactive way and a reactive way to, more of a proactive way rather than a reactive way to managing the Salesforce administration on a platform. So making sure that's in place is certainly a good sort of stepping point. The next at the other level to that is around governance, and making sure that they have a good centre of excellence in place, educating them on what a centre of excellence is, helping them set one up, helping them put it in rhythm. Now, depending on where you are in the organisation, you might be part of this for the long term, or you might be just going in and setting it up and then leaving them to manage the system. In effect, it's like setting up parents that then look after a baby. It's making sure that the parents know that they need to have a conversation about X, Y, and Z, and that they understand what the baby needs, and that they have a strategy for that. I'm not sure anybody really have a strategy if I reflect on this a little bit, but it's about really understanding that the parents are there and in place and are looking after the system. So within G in the book, we talk about how you set up a centre of excellence, what that looks like, and making sure there's good governance. H is about hiring a team. And so we talk through what are all the different roles and responsibilities that you need, what would you look for, what would you interview on, and making sure you've got a team that's set up for success is really important. So hiring the right team and making sure you've got the support around you. And I was reflecting on that in our consultancy skills course today, actually. It's really important that there isn't just a solo admin, and that that solo admin is responsible for everything, because solo admin pretty much doesn't always have the skills that is needed to do everything. You might need a consultancy who can provide a support desk support. You might need Premier Success from Salesforce. You might need a contractor to come in now and again that can do additional work. So it's really important that the client that we're working with understands all the different skills and needs of a Salesforce project, that there is business analysis, that there is agile project management, there is change management, there is the technical requirements at either an admin or a developer level, and that actually, one person cannot necessarily do all of these things or is good at all of these things, and that there are complementary skills to deliver on all these aspects. Now, as a Salesforce consultant, you can wear those multiple hats if you want to and you enjoy that. That is absolutely possible, but again, you still might not have the whole plethora of skills. So making sure you've got the right skill base covered with more than one person, 2 people, 3 people is really important. I is about identifying and upskilling champions. So this is about how do you create a role and responsibility and a set of tasks for Salesforce champions within departments. This is your wider team, but the champions are really important for departmental engagement, because they are your eyes and ears out in the organization to see how are people feeling about Salesforce. Are they using it effectively? Are they having pain points with it? Do they know about things that it could do for them? Is you want champions in every department that really understand the capabilities of Salesforce. Now, some of these champions might have delegated admin responsibilities. They might be a business analyst. They might do some business analysis work. They might just be gathering basic requirements. There are different levels that champions can operate on, but what is important is that you've set out those roles and responsibilities clearly to them. They've been upskilled in the areas that they need to be trained in, and it's formalized, and that their manager is on board with this process. So again, in the book, we cover more of that. And then J is about roles and responsibilities. Now, you might think, well, how does this differ from H? J is about how do you create a team structure? Because when you run a Salesforce project, it's like a pop-up team. You've suddenly got a group of people coming together. Quite often it's on top of their normal day job. And what you have to do is create a team structure and a team methodology. So it's about tools and techniques and ways that you do project management to make sure everybody's operating and performing as a team. So I talk about team building skills, which are applicable to any type of project, quite frankly. But we talk about how do you form a team structure? How do you communicate? How do you go from norming to performing? And talk about the Tuckman model, and sort of really make sure that you've got the foundations right to work and operate as a team on that level. So moving through, I'm talking about then evaluating the business need. So within this section, you might have the question that gets posed about, no one uses the old CRM. And you might ask, well, why not? And then you might get the response going, I don't really know. The problem is, if you don't know why people don't use an old CRM, you're going to have a problem, because then you don't really know why they would use the new one. Oh, my battery's running out. Sorry, I didn't plug it in, did I? Let me just plug in my battery. Sorry, folks. That was my scary thoughts. Lost my train of thought now. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Excuse my battery, I am back. So, there we go. There's always something. Right. So if we don't uncover where the problems lie with the old CRM, the chances are it will happen again and the CRM won't get adopted. So what we're going to do is look at what we need to do here. So we need to evaluate the business need and create a strategy for engaging stakeholders to maximize the value. So within this section, we look at K, which is what are the KPIs for the return on investment? Why are people investing in a new CRM? What is it they're expecting to get out of it? And how do we help them? Now, the way that I deliver this on a workshop is that I would go in and I've got a set of 15 indicators to kick off the conversation. Those 15 indicators span 3 different themes, and I will present that in my presentation and say, look, these are some of the areas that you could maximize investment. Which of these apply to you? And are there any others you would add? And I would do that at the strategic level with the key executive sponsors, but also per department. So with the sales team, I equally have a set of KPIs for the sales team, a set of KPIs for the support team. And the reason it's important to go in with all these example indicators is quite often they won't know what is possible. They won't have their list of indicators. And so my role as a consultant is to educate them about what is possible as well as decipher it. So you wouldn't say this is the only things you can have, but you want to go in with a whole set of KPIs into all your business analysis workshops that are indicative of what is possible, because then they're like, oh, I never thought about that. Yeah, you're right. Okay, wow. Okay, we could really get some value there. And you're adding value to them. You're making them think about all the amazing things they could get out of this system. So it's really, really important that you don't just go in and say, what do you want out? What's the return on investment? You go in and share that with them. L is about legacy issues. So with legacy issues, it's about understanding what are the reasons about why the old CRM hasn't been adopted. Now, for this, I use NLP logical levels, which is my background's NLP coaching. And when I saw this model, I was like, oh my gosh, that resonates so true to Salesforce Project. And it analyzes 6 different areas of where problems can originate. Now, with NLP logical levels, it can be applied to you as a person, your situation that you're appraising. And so it's equally applicable to a Salesforce project. So what it does is look at those 6 areas and go, okay, actually, when we look at all of these different areas, there is absolutely a reason here. You know, you need to explore these with the client, because if you just said to your client, tell me where the problems lay, they might say, oh, it was this or that. And you kind of like, you don't really know. Whereas if you can go in and say, right, there's actually 7 different areas. So we've got NLP logical levels has 6 areas that I look at. And then you've got data integrity is the 7th area. What you want to be doing is going in and saying, right, there's these 7 areas here that can cause issues around adoption. Can we just talk through them and sense check which of these might apply to this current situation? And is any of these a risk going forward? Because if it is, we obviously want to come up with a risk mitigation strategy for it going forward. So you want to be very methodical about how you tackle legacy issues and have a strategy for doing that. Validity sponsored this chapter, and they have an amazing data cleansing tool. Data integrity, I tell you what, is a common issue for one of the reasons why people don't use old databases. And unless that data is cleaned up and is tidied in the new system, you're going to get the same problem again. So that's why data integrity was my number 7, doesn't sit in my NLP logical levels, but I was like, that is a very common denominator. So there's definitely the tools and resources there for you with validity to sort out data. Moving through to M, this is all about mentoring stakeholders. And so with mentoring stakeholders, it is about empowering and infusing them on the journey. We go back to that change management piece. It's really about holding their hands and supporting them and building that rapport with them, understanding their learning style so you can best teach them and educate them and engage with them in the way that suits them. When I talked about change management, I talked a lot about the culture of the organization and how you might approach the business analysis in regards to the culture. With mentoring stakeholders, It's like, how do I engage and communicate with this person to suit their learning style? And so you need to know what their learning style is, or deliver your training, business analysis workshops in a blended learning style so it engages with them. So I talk a lot about, again, these principles, understanding change management, understanding how to engage people, how to motivate them, because you've got stakeholders in different places. So N is about navigating stakeholders and really builds on this mentoring piece. With change management, you do stakeholder mapping. You look at, there's 4 different camps that people can sit in. And I've looked at a couple of those. You've got the champions who are super enthusiastic and the people you absolutely love. And then you might have the sleepers, the ones that are completely ignoring everything going on. And then there's 2 other stakeholder groups. You need to be able to map everybody. And then you need to think about the motivational strategies that you will use to bring people on this journey with you. There are 4 different motivational and motivation strategies that is linked to different people's behaviors. And then you've got the learning styles. So there's so many fascinating things to think about when you are bringing people on this journey, and how, you are blending your different methodologies and techniques to deal with different stakeholders, different learning styles, different culture of the organization, because you will never deliver one project in the same way, or you never should do, because you are having to facilitate a blended approach that caters for all these different things. So that's N. O is about doing an org analysis if they already have Salesforce. So this is basically getting under the hood and having a look at what already is in that system, which, to be fair, is not my favorite place to be. Like, I like greenfield implementations where it's all spanking new and you can just build. But that is often not the case if you are going in. I've certainly gone into orgs and we've had to do under the hood work. I was really pleased to find out about Hubble Diagnostics, which is an amazing, again, free tool that you can implement and does an audit of your system and tells you what's going on in that system, which is fantastic. But equally, what we have and what I teach is we have a health check template, and we share the health check template free as part of the book. And with that, the health check template, it takes you through all the things that you need to analyze, and it gives you a template to write everything up. And it helps you look at governance, data integrity, product adoption and what product you're using, and also the wider business case and analysis. So it literally is the business analysis framework and template for evaluating a current org and what it's doing. And I used that template on a project where I was analysing an org where they'd spent £2 million on a Salesforce project, and where I designed that template specifically for something that scale, and it did the job well. They continued to use Salesforce, but it gave me a really good recipe for then sort of carrying that out with other clients and organisations. And it's a very well thought through methodology, which presents well, looks professional, and impresses the client or your team you're working with. And then P is about project tools. It's about making sure that you have all the project tools that you need to communicate and collaborate with a team, and make sure that everybody knows what's going on. You don't want to be in a situation where you're having all these conversations with stakeholders, you're evaluating the business need, and you're doing it back and forth through emails. It's really important to set up your team for success, and that you have project tools that document everything, that allow that collaboration back and forth, that allow you to also be compliant and make sure that data isn't being shared where it shouldn't be, and you've got everything in place. So that takes us through to P. Now, moving through, we've got the build. Imagine the build happening here, and we're skipping that build and going through preparing for rollout. So this is where you're rolling out the Salesforce system to users. Now, the worst thing you ever want to hear when you've just delivered a whole training session is somebody says to you, "How do I use Salesforce again?" And I'm sure we've all been in a workshop or a training, hopefully not at the end of this one, where you come out again and you go, "Oh my gosh, how do I do that again?" Because, there is that element of actually, how do we prepare for rollout and get people on board? So there's a strategy clearly for this, because I've got a strategy for everything. You want a strategy to empower users to embrace new technology. Now, there's 4 steps here. Q is about quality testing. It's really important that you quality test the system with your senior stakeholders, the people that have given you requirements, and they've tested it, and you've tested it from a technical point of view before you roll it out. Because if you roll out a system to end users before it's ready, you are going to completely lose their confidence in it, and it will go, I call it a digital belly flop. It will go wrong. So quality testing is really important. Provar, again, have a great learning platform where you can learn about quality testing, and they have a great product, so you might want to check that out for quality testing. Then you want to be able to run a great demo. So R is about how do you deliver a great demo of this new solution that you have put in place for that team or client you're rolling out. Before you get to training, you want to show them the demo. You might do that in a video format, you might do it live, but there's ways of communicating, there's content you need to include, there's dummy data you want to put in there. There's a methodology for delivering a great demo. And I have been trained in that through Salesforce. I've delivered many demos as part of being a Salesforce consultant and pitching for work. And we had training from Salesforce on how to do this. So there's a great section in the chapter. Again, it's something we dig in more detail on the course. And part of running a great demo leads me to S, which is about selling Salesforce. Now, you might shy away from selling because you think, well, that's selling up front. The reality is you are selling Salesforce at every single stage of the Salesforce implementation project. You are selling not just at the pitch stage, but you're selling at the business analysis stage in every workshop because you're wanting to get people bought into Salesforce. You are selling at the quality testing stage. You are selling at the training stage. And so within this chapter, I talk about how do you sell Salesforce authentically to people throughout that journey? How do you layer in those communication tools and methodologies to enthuse and empower people? It's change management methods and techniques again, really. It's all about not having a hard sell, which feels uncomfortable for anybody that's not a salesperson. It's about how do you embed all the benefits, all the perks, get people excited, motivating them all the way through. So selling Salesforce is really important as part of the rollout, but all the way through equally. And then we have T, which is the training strategy. Now I talk about the gold standard training strategy, which basically covers all of the different learning styles. And when I talk about learning styles, I talk about kinesthetic, audio digital, audio visual learning. All of us have our preferred learning style. And if we just deliver in our preferred learning style, the reality is we will miss other people in that equation because we won't deliver in a learning style that is lent to them, which means that they'll walk away and go, how do I use Salesforce again? Because we haven't covered it off. So within a gold standard training strategy, we are delivering training in a way that ticks all of those learning style boxes and embeds the training in their minds and gives them the tools and resources they need to be able to walk away successfully and feel confident with Salesforce. Now, when you've delivered the training, it can be quite easy to think at this point, I'm going to walk away now and they're happy, right? I've left them to it. But there is a really important part here which can quite often get missed. And this is about how do we embed Salesforce? How do we know we've embedded it? And this question, I think, is quite powerful. Is, you've done the training, you've gone, oh, my job's done now. But 4 or 5 weeks later, the question might be posed, is anybody actually using the new system? How do we know that they're using it and it's being used? How do we know that we're getting the ROI? So there's a section all around embedding Salesforce. And this is about having a strategy for enthusing users to use Salesforce every day. And this is an element that you do not want to miss because it's where the ROI is gathered. And it's about making sure that users are using it after the training. So U is about a user adoption strategy. And I think one of the most interesting questions is, how do we know there's good user adoption? What are the KPI? What are we looking at to know that we've got good user adoption? I've had plenty of people say to me, oh, user adoption isn't good. Okay, well, let's turn that on its head. What would we be looking at? What kind of stats on a dashboard? User rates is really, really fascinating topic that can have quite a debate around a table. You want to figure out with your client or with your team what those user adoption KPIs are. So you can go, we have great user adoption. We're meeting the benchmark that we wanted to expect. And you can analyze that and monitor it 4 weeks, 6 months, 1 year down the line. Now, improved apps have a free user adoption dashboard that is really sophisticated, that has a big brother view of what's going on in the system and who's using what in the system. So if you are wanting to track user adoption, I would highly recommend that you use their user adoption dashboard, which is currently free, and that might be changing soon, but you can download that, embed it in your org. And they also have great like a training learning platform as well that you can embed in your organization. But user adoption is key. What would it look and feel like to make sure that you've got good user adoption? And then you want to go through to the value assessment. Now, with value assessment, you are revisiting those KPIs that you set out at the outset, because it's all very well setting out the ROI, key performance indicators at the beginning of the project, but unless anybody's revisiting them at a given point in time in the future, you might as well have not bothered. So you need to be very clear on the value assessment. Who's doing it? When is it happening? And how do we report that back up to senior management? So you need a value assessment approach. With W, it's wrapping up. It's about, I would have called this offboarding, but it didn't flow in obviously where O was in the element, but I would normally call this offboarding. This is about wrapping up the project. How do you wrap up and hand over the baby to an organization and make sure they feel equipped with all the tools and resources to manage that project going forward? I have an offboarding checklist. Of course I do. I have a checklist for everything, because you see the things that go wrong, you're like, oh gosh, how do I not remember that? So you have to have this whole checklist around offboarding people and making sure that they've got everything in place, so they are left holding the baby and they know how to feed it, they know how to water it, they know how to support it, ongoing every day. So that's wrapping up, is making sure they've got everything in place. So that's the overarching element, right? You've gone in, you've done that, and then you're moving on to the next project, maybe in the same organization, maybe somewhere else. But what is really important, and the people shy away from, is how did the project go for everybody? Doing this evaluation is one of the reasons why I've got this risk mitigation spreadsheet, is why I've written the book, because I've seen and got feedback and understood where things didn't go quite right and perfected them and worked on them to improve them. You are only ever going to be a super Salesforce consultant if you evaluate how your projects have gone and how you can improve on them going forward, and you're investing in yourself to improve your approach. So it's really important. X is for Xray, which I felt quite pleased about, because I was really sort of worried about what I was going to put for X. But X is about X-raying that whole A to Z. It's about going back through every single bit of the alphabet and going, how did that bit go? Did I feel comfortable doing that? Did I feel confident doing that? Did it work well? And obviously this might not be it might be a conversation with yourself, but it's also a conversation with any other stakeholders that have been part of it. So you want to do an X-ray on every letter of the alphabet I've been through and ask yourselves, how did this go? How could we make it better? How could we do it differently? All being well, that went really amazing and we're really pleased. That's obviously where you want to be as a super Salesforce consultant. You want to feel that you are doing things as best as you can, and you are implementing best practice, you're delivering a professional way. And that's what I was really proud of with the consultancy that I ran, because over 65% of our work was repeat and referral custom, because they liked our approach. And it's what helped us win the EMEA Partner of the Year award, because people like working with us. It's how I grew from me to 20 staff, because we grew. And so the success of you, your salaries, your earning, and what you can achieve will be testament to how you deliver on your project and the professional approach don't be a cowboy. Don't do it without any official training. Like, it's really, really important that you will just make this money back. So say I invested 11K, but if I was earning 450 a day, you know, it paid off. It paid off for me growing to a huge consultancy. I'm not saying you want to grow a consultancy, but it will pay dividends in a salary. So do the Xray, work out, invest in yourself, develop yourself, and develop your methodology so you feel like you are really confident. And that's how I feel confident. Like, you know, that's how I feel confident to be able to sit here and teach you guys, because I've been on that journey. I've seen the investment in our approach and the value that created and what we achieved with it. So, you know, it's there to be had. And here, you know, I want to give this to you as a gift to help you be really successful in your job. And this leads me quite nicely on to why, about your career path, because with this, I want, you know, with every project you do and every evaluation you do, this is about thinking, actually, what do I enjoy? What don't I do? What don't I enjoy? Where do I want to create my niche? Where do I want to focus my time? And to think about how you can double your salary. And within this chapter, we talk about, you know, how you double your salary, what are the different routes you can go down, you know, evaluating and say what's worked and what's not worked. And then that gets me to Z, your zone of genius. When you've worked out where your zone of genius is, that's when you want to start sharing things with the wider world. Could be doing masterclasses like this. It could be writing a blog for Salesforce Ben. It could be talking at your local user group. It could be even presenting just to an internal team within your company. What is your zone of genius? Because every time you teach people, you could be a mentor, even a mentor for Supermums and teaching other people. Every time that you share your knowledge with other people through mentoring, through presenting, through talking, through writing, it builds your confidence. Teaching other people is a gift that we have that helps other people, but also makes us feel that we know something, makes us feel like we're imparting value. And you all have that ability to share things, even if it's just a post on LinkedIn. So I want you to create your zone of genius, the thing that you're really passionate about, the thing that you can teach other people, whether it's on a one-on-one basis or one-to-many basis. And you'll carve that out. You'll find that path for yourself. And it will push you out of your comfort zone to do some of these things. One-to-one mentoring might push you out of comfort zone. Presenting at Dreamforce might push you out of your comfort zone, but it's open, it's there for you, and you can invest in training for that too. I've invested in training for podcasts and public speaking. I used to hate public speaking, but I went on a public speaking course and trained myself up in it so I could do it more. So all of this is in your hands. You've got the ability to develop yourselves, help other people, develop your skills, and become a super Salesforce consultant if you want to. So that takes me to the A to Z of everything that I just want you to think about and take away from this evening. You've obviously got all of more detail around all these topics in the book, Become a Super Salesforce Consultant, which you can get as an e-download or a hard copy book off Amazon, and Jen will share the link in the chat for that. And we've had obviously some amazing sponsors that have supported the book. For every book that we have, the profits go to our bursary fund to support women who've suffered from disadvantage to do our training courses. And so, every book is reinvested as part of that, as part of our social enterprise model. As I mentioned at the beginning, we do have our Consultancy Skills course starting in April. Absolutely love teaching this class and meeting people every week. I continue to share all my experience of consulting in those week live sessions with people, but equally there is also on-demand content that you can work through at your own pace, very quickly or slowly, depending on what you might be, where we cover all these different topics around business analysis, change management, agile project management. We go through all the business analysis scripts for the different products, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Nonprofit Cloud, payment integrations, e-marketing. And I also talk through all the technical considerations of those things to really set you up for success, to walk into a project and have all of this laid out for you, so you don't need to go and devise it yourself. So we have a quick poll. Jen, if you want to launch a poll, the poll is around which of these skills do you think you want to develop further? Business analysis, change management, agile project management. Which ones feels the more weaker one for you? We'll share the Consultancy Skills URL also in the chat. Jen, if you could put that in the chat so we can go and have a look at the course.
I would do, but I just can't find a poll that we prepared. Give me 1 second.
Let me know if you've got any questions in the chat. I'd love to answer any questions. I'll just have a quick look at the chat. Consultancy Skills. Right, so Hamila, you said, would you recommend some standard questions to ask for a new business analyst? Yes, absolutely. I have business analysis scripts for absolutely everything, from the CRM strategy to Sales Cloud, Service Cloud. You know, you don't want to walk in to any project without having a whole set of questions and knowing that you've covered everything in those questions, because that's your checklist. And I would, with the business analysis scripts, you give them to the client first. You talk through what you're going to ask of them, give them as a paper copy, and then you give them a pre-designed presentation explaining what these questions mean and showing them in practice. Like, you know, when you ask the question, what reports and dashboards do you want from Salesforce? You're giving them a demo of what is possible so they understand what you mean by that. And that's one of the questions in your BA script. And then you say to them, right, you know, we're going to come in and do the design workshop in 2-3 weeks time. This is what you need to get ready for me. So you'd want all that in place. Ashita, you said, do I need to learn Salesforce development to learn DevOps? No. When we say Salesforce development, DevOps is about how you manage changes in an existing system. So as a consultant, you might be managing that process, but not doing any actual not doing it practically. If you are an admin or developer, you would use a DevOps tool to build anything and roll it out if you are definitely working in an existing system. So, you know, you want to, DevOps is basically a requirement now for any organization where you are working in an existing system to sort of manage and roll out everything. Any other questions? Do we need to be admin accredited first, Marie? Is I strongly recommend for any business analysts or agile project managers that they are admin accredited and admin informed, because I've worked on projects where they had business analysis and project managers as part of the project who knew nothing about Salesforce and what it could do, and it was a complete waste of time, quite frankly. I would recommend highly that if you want to just be a business analyst or project manager, which absolutely you can do without any build, but I'd still recommend you get admin certified so you understand all the fundamentals of Salesforce and what is possible. Ashiti said, what is the roadmap for learning Salesforce DevOps? I would highly recommend you go to DevOps Launchpad, which Jen's put in the chat, which gives you all the learning. Thanks, Jean, about the consultancy course. Fantastic. Thank you. Any other questions from anybody? I don't know, Jen, did you find the poll?
I'm sorry, no, I can only see the ones I've set up. I can't see the one you created, Heather.
Okay, maybe it's because I don't know. Oh well, don't worry about it.
Apologies, sorry.
Thank you, darling. No, it's all right. Well, brilliant. If there's no other questions, I would like to say thank you to all of you for coming, and I wish you every success as a Salesforce consultant. And we'd love you to have you on the Consultancy Skills course if that's for you. As I say, within the next 24 hours, there is a special 10% off for anybody that's attended the workshop. I hope that's given you an amazing insight into all the things that you need to think about. Dreamforce to you. Hopefully we might see you all at Dreamforce next year if you are able to make it, or this year, sorry, we're already in 2024. But you know, it's always an exciting opportunity to be there and to share all the learning with everybody else. And hopefully, if you're going to deliver a presentation and create your zone of genius, make sure you invite me, because I want to know that you've got there and you're shining your light on your zone of genius too. So thank you everyone for coming. The book, Jean, the book is the A to C checklist, right? You've got it all there in the book, which is really cheap as an e-download off Amazon. So that's probably your best way to get the A to Z checklist. But thanks everyone for coming, and we shall see you all soon. If you've got any questions, you can also book a call in with our team. We'll send out the link to book a call. I think we have got Lynn also on here. Lynn, if you want to say hi, you can book and call in with Lynn if you've got any questions about the course tomorrow, and we can get you up and running on the course if you want to be more involved.
Hi everyone, I've probably spoken to a lot of you, but I'm here if you need me. Are you going to put the link in, Jen, or shall I do it?
I will do it now for you, no problem. I will also send it round in a follow-up email as well.
Thank you. I've probably spoken to most of you anyway, but if I haven't already, I'd love to chat to you.
Brilliant, thank you. And for those of you watching on replay, sorry you couldn't make it live. If you've got any questions, please reach out to us as well, because we had a fantastic sign up to this event. So it was great speaking to you all. I hope you all have a lovely day or evening wherever you are in the world. And we shall see you all soon. We'll leave the chat open, so happy to answer any of the questions you have right now. If you want to talk to us, I will stop the recording, and we'll wait here to see if there's any other questions.